What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I'm bringing you an in-depth deep dive review of the 2022 Mercedes-Benz S-Class. This is their flagship luxury sedan that they've been making for decades, the standard of the world, so they say, and today we're going to take a deep dive walk around of it. This is the S580, the V8 model in the executive line trim, which is the nicest one you can get, which is why we have our little three-pointed star there on the hood. We also have a slightly different front fascia. They can change up a little bit with like the wheels and stuff like that. These are optional wheels. I think they happen to look really nice, as does this paint job. It is a very deep blue that almost looks black in the right light, but I think it looks fantastic. We've got the long wheelbase model. That's the only model available in the United States. You actually can't get the shorty S-Class here in the United States. They do these pop out handles now. You just put your finger right here to lock it and the handle is going to go away, and then you kind of swipe your finger slowly on the door handle to unlock it and the door handles pop out. Here at the back we have kind of these triangle-ish shaped taillights that we see on models like the CLA as well, although I think they did begin on the CLA, which is a little bit weird to see them go from CLA to S-Class. It's a little bit of an understated design. This isn't going to, wow people with the exterior styling, but as you'll see from the interior, that is really not what this car is all about. We do have a fairly sizable trunk in here. You can get like a cargo box here. We just have the basic cargo hook that you can go ahead and put your bags on if you have some small grocery bags. The seats do not fold down, as you'll see why in just a little bit. That's because the back seats do some really cool functions. Now I'm going to give you a tour of the inside, because the exterior is not really what's special here. It is this gorgeous cabin, which is basically the fully loaded Mac Daddy version of the S-Class. We've got these pillows on the headrests. We've got this gorgeous quilted Napa leather seating. We've got this nice wood trim, although you can get some other finishes as well. And we do have some Burmester audio here, although not the most upgraded system, as I will soon show you. Let's go ahead and start it up immediately. We'll go ahead and shut the door, which is a soft touch, soft close, should I say. We have this very nice steering wheel with like wood on the outside. I'm usually not a big fan of that, but this feels very, very premium. It also has touch controls here, these touch capacitive controls that are new for Mercedes vehicles. They used to be physical buttons. Now you can use those to control two various elements. So we have the 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster, and we have a 12.8-inch OLED touchscreen center display here. So this is a touchscreen. You can use it that way, or you can use this little part of the controller here. So I can actually scroll between different things here using this little touchpad, and I can do the same thing here on this side with here. So you can have like a little map, you can have your trip computer, etc. By scrolling on here. If I hit the home button, now I can choose between different types of gauges. So I can have a full navigation map. I can have this exclusive design, which I believe is only for the S-Class. You can have this sporty design, which is kind of interesting. It has like this cool RPM pattern. I don't typically love that one. It's a little bit harder to read or less natural for me. And then you can have understated, where it doesn't even have a tachometer. It just has a clock. So a lot of different things that you can do here on the screen, which I quite like. A lot of things you can do here on this screen as well. I mentioned you can touch it. We have a little fingerprint scanner here that you can use to set up all of your different settings, because there are quite a lot of settings, especially here under comfort. Look at all the different seat massage modes that we have. It's quite a lot of them. We've got some gorgeous ambient lighting on this car. What I'm actually going to do now is buckle up, because the ambient lighting is such a special story on this car that I couldn't not show it to you. So we're going to pull down real quick, and we're going to take a look at the ambient lighting here in this little parking garage. All right, so now it is dark out. We can see how gorgeous this ambient lighting looks. It's not quite as dark in here as I would have hoped, but you can get a pretty good idea. Like, look at all of the different settings. That one is called, what is that one called? This one is called Miami Rose. It's one of my favorite ones. We've got Malibu Sunset. That is also quite nice as well. I love the way these different ambient lights look. Now, if I throw it in reverse, you're going to see the amazing backup cameras that we have here. You can also position this different ways, so it kind of shows you the outside of the car. We've got rear wheel steering that I will talk about a little bit more when we get this car out on the road. But as you can see, those rear wheels are turning, so you can get out of your parking spots like so much easier. You can get in and out of them like with ease. So I'm turning. It really just makes this car a delight to drive, an absolute delight. So I love the rear wheel steering, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we drive. So those are the two ways that you can interact with this screen, either with touch or with the steering wheel. You can also say, "Hey Mercedes. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Tell me a joke."
Why did the tomato blush? Because it saw the salad dressing.
Okay. So yeah, you can do that as well.
Sorry, something went wrong.
Sometimes it decides to be a little finicky, but for the most part, I think it works quite well. Now we have a little bit of storage behind that as well. I have my sunglass case back there as well. We've got our sunroof up here. We've got another sunroof there in the back that I'll show you a little bit later. And as you know, heated, ventilated, and massage seats as well. And that's pretty much most of the cool stuff here. I mentioned that we have the Burmester 3D surround system. You can get an optional 4D sound system that has like speakers in the seats that can like massage you. $6,730. I have not spent enough time with that system to tell you whether or not it's worth it, but I can tell you that the base audio system is amazing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the vehicle on, and we're going to check out the back seat, but specifically we're going to check out that back seat on the passenger side, and I'll show you why that is. So typically you can push a button that will move the front seat forward. Now unfortunately I messed something up with the settings on this car, and it no longer wants to do it for me, but I basically have this set up. So look what's going to happen. The front seat is going to go as forward as it possibly can. It pushes all the way up. This headrest is going to go down, so the driver who's chauffeuring you, can see out of this window pretty easily, and that is going to give the person in the back here tremendous amounts of legroom, because this seat, unfortunately not the driver's side one, but the passenger side one, has this really handy footrest that you can use. So I'm going to go ahead and sit down in it, and then if I did this correctly and I push this button, there we go, now it's going to fully recline. Again, this can all be done just pushing this button. Unfortunately, I messed something up with it. But yes, look what it's going to do. It's going to lift up my feet. How cool is that? And then you can use these controls here to recline the seat back as well, which is very, very cool. So these seats do slide and recline in like a really cool way. So you can just relax back here in ultimate comfort. You've got, of course, the sunroof here that I can go ahead and close right here using this button on the controls. So there are a lot of physical controls that you can use here, but there are a lot of touch controls as well. So we have shades here on both windows that you can put down just using the normal seat controls. We've got a little pop out little thing here, little arm that deploys my seatbelt, so you don't have to go ahead and reach back for that. That's quite nice. Let me go ahead and pull these again, lift these up. You also have here in the back a sunshade. So again, if you don't want the shade, if you don't want the sun, you don't have to have the sun. And you've got all these physical controls here, but you also have this really cool touch screen. I believe it's a Samsung tablet. So everything that we saw up there on that screen is available here as well. So here is all of the different massage functions. We do have massage on all 4 seats in this car, the same ones that you can get up there in the front. You can also control the seats with the different lumbar settings. Here's our ambient light settings as well as our adaptive rear lighting. So if I reach over there, it can like turn on that light, which is really cool. You can make phone calls. You can change the different audio settings. We have access to that all right here. You can choose the next song if you want. You can adjust the climate control, which is really cool. And this doesn't just have to live here. You can actually push eject, and then this will pop out. And now you can use it just like you would a normal tablet to control the car. You don't have to strain yourself to use it here in the center console. We do have some cup holders in here as well. Although this, there we go. Takes like a double click. You've just got kind of some cool fold down arm cup holders. And of course you have your own climate controls in here. You also get your ashtrays. So if you do want to smoke a cigar back here, you can technically do that. So yeah, this interior is pretty special to be in. There aren't many vehicles at any price range that give you this level of comfort. So if you are looking for one of the nicest interiors in the world, the S-Class definitely has it. All right, now let's get the S-Class out on the road, where this vehicle is simply stupendous. There's a reason why the S-Class is the standard of the world and has been for many decades. There are two versions that are available right now in the US, although there will be more later on. So you can get the S500, that's got Mercedes' new 3-liter turbocharged inline-6 motor with a mild hybrid system, produces 429 horsepower and 384 pound-feet of torque, good for a 0 to 60 time of about 4.8 seconds. Now, I haven't driven that model, but got to imagine that with that engine, I've driven that engine before, the S-Class should have some pretty smooth and effortless power delivery. But if you need more, you can get the model that I've been driving, this S580. Replaces the inline-6 with a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8. This is the motor Mercedes puts in everything, including the AMG models. But here it is tuned for silky smoothness. You put your foot down. Yes, you do get a slight V8 growl, but honestly, you can barely hear it, and that's kind of the point. You can barely tell that this car is on half the time. It produces 496 horsepower in this application with 519 pound-feet of torque. Good for a 0 to 60 time of about 4.4 seconds. So honestly, not all that much quicker than that inline-6 model. So what you're really getting is that buttery, creamy smoothness of the V8. Not that the inline-6 isn't smooth, because it is, but you're just getting that extra bit of smoothness and effortless passing power. It's not really a performance car. For that, you're going to want to wait for one of the upcoming AMG models, of which there should be multiple. There'll probably be an S63 with a little over 600 horsepower, and for the first time ever, AMG will likely do an S63E performance model that will be a plug-in hybrid drivetrain with over 700 or possibly over 800 horsepower. The ones that we have here are 48-volt mild hybrids. So the system in this car adds 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque. So it just gives you that real instant boost that when you need it, and then when you brake or coast or whatever, it's going to charge that system very quickly. It also helps on the start-stop. This car has a very smooth start-stop, which not a lot of gas-powered cars do, these non-hybrids. So when I come to a stop, which I'm about to do, it'll shut down the engine before I hit 0 miles an hour. That helps make it a little bit smoother. A lot of cars, you come to a stop and then the engine shuts off. This one you almost don't even notice, partially because the car is so smooth, in general, but also, again, because of that 48-volt mild hybrid system. And then when I fire it up, it's almost like I couldn't even feel it start. It didn't do like a cha-chung, it just started. So that was great. And if you get this option, which unfortunately this S-Class doesn't have, it is also powered by the mild hybrid system. You can get Mercedes' active e-active body roll suspension. It's a semi-supporting hydropneumatic air suspension, $6,500 option on top of everything that I've showed you already in this video. I've only driven it once or twice. I think the last time was on a GLE, but apparently not a lot of customers buy it because they just see a $6,500 suspension option and they don't actually know what it does. It's worth it. It really is. Basically, what it can do is it can use the 48-volt mild hybrid system to, you create sort of anti-roll and just smooth out the ride even more than this car is already smooth. It might seem crazy to spend an additional $6,500 on suspension on already such an expensive, comfortable car, but I'm telling you, I think it's worth it. We also have the rear axle steering on this car. So there are two different versions of this system available on the S-Class, and we've got the more powerful version, I should say. So there's a version that moves the rear wheels about 4.5 degrees. This moves it by about 10 degrees. And oh my goodness, you can really feel it in action, especially when you're in like a parking lot. You come up on a spot that you have no business getting into in a vehicle this big, and the S-Class just makes it easy peasy, no problems whatsoever. You can just get into spots. It reduces the turning circle, Mercedes says, by about 7 feet. It's honestly astonishing technology, the rear axle steering. You can just do U-turns in the middle of the street like it's nothing. I'll actually do that in just another second. But I want to talk about just how amazing this vehicle is to drive. The steering is super light, but yet it has a sort of precision to it. It glides over bumps with its adaptive suspension. Like, you just won't feel bumps in this car. Again, like I said, the turning circle, I'm going to go ahead and do a U-turn here. Too easy, like absolutely too easy. For such a big car, you can just pull some incredible U-turns that you would not be able to pull normally in a car this big, just turning so tight. The power is effortless. No problems passing people. I don't think you need an AMG. They're fun, but if you need an AMG, there will also be Maybach versions of this car with even more power and even more luxury. But the standard S-Class is just such a lovely, lovely thing to drive. It's so quiet in here. You honestly can't even hear the road. We do have some drive modes that you can fiddle around with. We have an eco mode, a sport plus mode, which I've just put it in, and woo! Grips. You get a little bit more weight in the steering, but this is no sports car, at least not in a non-AMG form. It really helps with the acceleration because Mercedes tunes this vehicle, especially this 9-speed automatic transmission, to be comfortable so that you don't feel it when you're accelerating, so you don't put your foot down and it doesn't jolt you back. In Sport Plus mode, it wakes up just a little bit, so if it does push your head back into this nice pillowy headrest, it's going to do it in Sport Plus mode. But again, nothing too crazy there. All S-Classes send their power out to all-wheel drive, if I forgot to mention that, meaning that when you go ahead and put your foot down, the power just goes down immediately with no problems whatsoever, no drama, no rear-wheel drive spinning or anything like that. It does sound pretty good in Sport Plus mode, I will say, which is amazing because in all the other modes, you basically never even hear the engine. It's so quiet. Yes, the S-Class is a lot of money, but based on my impressions of it driving for an entire week, it is worth every penny. In fact, the only thing that I can really compare this to, I mean, you've got the Audi A8, you've got the new upcoming BMW 7 Series that should be quite nice as well, and those are obviously comparable as well, but this is so lovely to drive and so comfortable that it really feels comparable to something like a Rolls-Royce Ghost or a Bentley Flying Spur, and those cost twice as much. So yes, the S-Class is an expensive vehicle, but when you compare it to the Rolls and the Bentley, it's kind of a bargain. All right, so that was the 2022 Mercedes-Benz S-Class. Pricing for the S500 with the inline-6 motor starts at $111,100. If you want this V8 S580 model, that's going to start at $117,700. So for the extra $6,000 I guess if you're already spending this much money, you might as well go for the V8. But it doesn't stop there. That's just for the luxury line. If you want the AMG line, which is a little bit sporty and comes with a few more options, that's going to be $122,000. And this fully loaded executive line model that I've shown you in this video starts at $129,100, and it doesn't stop from there if you want to add options. It is a very expensive car, but as I've showed you in this video, it is pretty flawless. And if you are looking for a luxurious full-size sedan that you can either drive many miles to work or be chauffeured in, I think that the Mercedes-Benz S-Class is truly one of the best vehicles on sale today. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2022 Mercedes-Benz S-Class. For more videos like it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to read more about the 2022 Mercedes-Benz S-Class, be sure to check out carbuzz.com.